Hello, it's Andy Glenn welcoming you all to another podcast. And this time we're going to have a special podcast with a review of the year 2023 and a little look forward to next year, or 2024 as it is now. I'm joined by Jamie Thompson and Martin Grubb. A quick review of last year. So we weren't sitting here at the start of 2023 because we never had this fantastic facility. We weren't doing podcasts the way that we were doing. We were trying to keep informed with fans, but we were top of the league. We were cruising. We really didn't have much worries. Everything was rosy, wasn't it? And if anything, and we've said before, the hockey was getting kind of boring because we were coming along not expecting to lose. It wasn't even in our minds as fans that we were going to lose. It was going to be how much and what brilliance are we going to see.
I think that it's been one of the, I won't say a shock, but one of the biggest changes for everybody. I mean, Jamie and I will honestly tell you, and we have told you that exactly that. There'd be some nights we'd come in here and we were bored. We would feel that we'd become so negative because you were trying to stop players at that stage getting into bad habits because we were winning easy. There would be, I think I always look back to the Solihull game at home, where during the week the two of us had built it up, we'd prepared meticulously as we always would regardless, but when we come in we're thinking this is a good Solihull team, it's going to be a really difficult game, and I think we're 4-0 up within 3 minutes, and we look at each other going, okay, right, it's great that our players have done their job, but this is meant to be a third or fourth place team at a tough game. I think obviously everybody, when you look at that season or the tail end of that season, you look back to the cup final was unbelievable at that level of hockey. Credit to both teams there. Ourselves and Billingham put on a special weekend of hockey there, and when you look at 2 trophies in one night and everything that went with it, Kersey's late equaliser, Callum's heroics in the shootout, and that was one weekend that will always stand out for us throughout a year that I guess we could make almost as many mistakes as we want, and that's what's been hurting us a little bit in the first part of this year. You could make a lot of mistakes and still win the game. Now you make one mistake, you're potentially leaving the game with no points. So that part, the hockey was still decent on the level it was at.
Is it concentration? Is it like
well,
in those games where, I mean, I always remember the Billingham game because you dedicated it to my wife at the end, which was brilliant because she wasn't there, she wasn't well. But you could make mistakes, which means you didn't have to concentrate for 60 minutes. Now, a slip in concentration almost, and you get punished, don't you?
I think the difference now is, back then, if we made a mistake, we were confident in our ability to go out and score another goal to get it back.
You could score 2 or 3 goals and not back a mistake.
Because we were that comfortable and the team was that good and they had that bond and that confidence. And I think if you compare it to this season and what we're gaining week on week is that the guys who have came up a level, they're now learning how to be pro players, and it's a massive difference, that concentration level and that having to take your opportunities. And for example, in Hull at the weekend, 30 seconds, 40 seconds to go, you've got Craig Peacock blocking shots, and a veteran guy, the elite league and former GB player, and Nolan Gardner, import blocking shots and stuff like that. And as we filter that down through the team, I think that's what the major difference is now. They weren't pro players then. We've tried to be as professional an outfit as we could, but we were comfortable, and I think we always had confidence that we might make a mistake, and me and Martin might shout about it and moan at them, but we knew they were going to get it back at the end of the day, and they had that belief. Whereas now, you might not get that opportunity to get it back, regardless of how good your team is. So I think that's maybe the difference, is just having that professional level of concentration and going about your business rather than playing a game. I think that's the 2 major differences now.
Oh, that's a good way to put it. So we done do you want to talk a little bit about Streatham as well, that game, because that was a good game.
I think the Biden memory of Streatham is that we have no memory. I think I think the week you go forward a week or back a week, however you want to look at it, the playoff weekend in Altrincham.
Yep.
we dominate the semi-final. And then credit to Whitley, you come into a final which is always a tough game. It's always a tight game against them, regardless. Obviously, we've had a few comfortable wins, we'll call them, but a final of playoffs is always going to be tough. And Whitley run us really close. Cal shut the door. We done that, but then the pressure's all on us going into the Streatham game because they had it the year before. Farnley was retiring. They had won every single trophy. We were in that situation where we knew a couple of players were retiring. We had won every single trophy. It was our chance to go for that kind of Grand Slam or Shark Slam as we had named it. So it was a bit of pressure on the boys that game. Of course, a lot of the talk the year before was Ryan Watt and Vanya Antonov hadn't been playing. And we've openly said it. We were happy they were playing this year because it should be the best players and the best teams playing each other. And we would have said that whether we won or lost because it's the right thing. But I thought the boys were outstanding. In the first period, I don't think a lot happened for either team. They were feeling each other out. It was a bit of a boxing match and a couple of jabs here and there to see who would flinch. But we scored early in the second, and that was us. We played our game, and obviously to dominate that game, to win the game, to shut a really good Streatham team out who had dominated the South was all unbelievable. But just for our club to have that little bit of history, to create the Grand Slam, to send a couple of guys, veteran, real Sharks off with that trophy, and even just for us as a couple of old guys who this club means the world to, just to be able to see the joy on our players, our supporters' faces, and to have that chance to celebrate. The picture that sticks with me is just them hanging off the glass, players trying to get to fans, if you like, fans trying to get to players to celebrate together, was really special. And then the bus journey back is legendary.
We're going to talk about the bus journey back.
The traffic was terrible.
The fact
It was too.
the fact that the traffic was so bad that we had to keep ourselves hydrated. It was just a special moment for a special club, a special bunch of fans, the people that were, obviously at that stage it was different leadership, if you like, in terms of the setup of the club, and Ian was the chairman at that stage and gave us everything that we needed and could possibly want to make that successful. So to be able to make that happen for the club and the fans and the players was something that will stick with us. It's almost that sounds a bit ruthless to say that it's kind of historic part of the club now. We've drawn a line, but it will never leave us because it was such a special end to that season.
I think that game maybe opened up opportunities for other clubs in NIHL, one in the north, now, even with us going now, and maybe because for years we always heard how the North League wasn't very good, and
much more competitive league now.
And I think 2 years in a trot we've shown that although we were winning up here, we went down there and bet the so-called best team down there. So I think it opened a few eyes up. And I think now these northern teams, they've certainly got a better league now that we've left. It's more competitive, it's tighter, which is great. But I think they'll maybe get a bit more kudos for the level they're playing at, and a bit because of that win. And as Martin said, it was great. Going out with Bentham and Horner and Gaps and these boys that we knew weren't coming back and doing it. But who knows when we'll do the next one.
I think it was a fair comment, Jamie, about the North getting more respect for those performances, and I think every Sharks player knows the picture you're talking about. It's a brilliant picture, and I have to say, those last 4 games of the season, I think Callum let in 1 goal. We're talking about the last time the Sharks failed to score. If you didn't concede, you're not going to get beat ever. And that's the simple fact of it. He done really well as the defence. But I do have to say a wee story is the day after the legendary bus trip back from Coventry. I don't know why I was in at the rink, but I had to drop something off at the rink, and it was early on. It was 8 o'clock or so, and Mr. Connor Henderson was just there, probably coming from, I would suggest, your house, Jamie. I don't know what happened there in your
if he was there
in the
or not,
Aces, but he was there, and he still had a car in his hand. To be fair to him, and I'm saying to him, "You done really well." And he went, "Aye, we won it all." And I'm like, "Aye, I was I was there, Coco. Were you?" I said, "The traffic was really bad getting back." He says, "Oh, it took ages to get back." I said, "All right, how long did it take you to get back?" He said, "Oh, it must have been nearly 2 hours." I'm like,
That's
complete
Coco.
different lack of
To be fair,
reality that we
fair,
had.
Coco was in a different bit of reality to us all the time, but he's a good kid.
Oh, it was brilliant. It was brilliant to see. And as you say, it is history, Martin, and it'll stay with us forever.
Yeah, well, it changed the club in a way, I think, and Jamie's right, the league gets kudos. I think Scottish players have started to get a bit more respect around this league that we're in now. And I guess it takes us into the next chapter, because Jamie and I, along with Ian and Andrea, were invited up to the Sky Lounge in Coventry to speak to Steve Nell and John Neville at that stage. And I think we'd maybe a couple of beverages deep within 5 minutes of winning that game, and straight up with a bit of bravado of, we'll see you here next year in terms of the National League playoff finals. So that's when the kind of discussion started. There had always been discussions, but that's when it became real. It became real for us as a club to almost have these official conversations. There was a lot of people putting stuff out online. Would we even be invited? Would we be considered? Would we want to go? And there was obviously a lot of things to discuss and to have to get our ducks in a row. But that was probably then, not even 5 minutes after kind of creating that bit of history, then the door opened straight away for what would then become the next part.
Was that the actual start of the progression into NIHL?
Yeah, I mean, that was literally it. Pre-game, John Neville had come and spoke to Jamie as a friend as well. He'd played for John, and John said hello to me. I was a bit busier, but Jamie stopped to speak to him, and we kind of had that of what would happen. Is there a chance to chat? Without there being anything of, oh yeah or no. And Steve had then come and seen me and said, well, we'll see you after the game. At that stage, our minds are purely focused on obviously trying to win a national championship at that stage. Literally go in, win the game, and a little bit of celebrations on the ice, go and address the players, put a wee bit of emotion in the dressing room for obvious reasons and various reasons, the guys retiring and what the players had achieved. I think Jamie rather, what we call it, stupidly gave somebody's card to go to the bar and bring some beers in. So
the last time I ordered 55 pints of lager in the Planet Ice rink anyway.
So obviously there was a few beers consumed, and before we know it, I'd say 5 minutes later we're upstairs and the mind just changes completely to saying, right, can we take the next step? Can it happen? And credit to Steve and John, they listened. They put some questions to us that needed asked from both sides of how it would work for us, how it would work for the league. Obviously the teams that were in the National League at that stage needed to have their meetings and be fully engaged in what was going on there. We had to come back and do a bit of work ourselves, and that's probably where it all started.
So the chronology after that is that the Clan, I can't even remember if the Clan had sold or were still in discussions. So they were still in discussions about being bought over, and obviously we know that John, Phil, and David were looking to buy the Clan at that point in time. We were probably needing a financial investment to make it viable for us to go to NIHL 1. So how did the planets align when it came to pass?
I think that's quite a well-known story now, but I mean, I think obviously it's well publicised that the guys were trying to take over the Clan, and for whatever reason we got wind that that potentially had maybe fallen through before it was overly public through contacts. Hockey's a small world, and right away we both said we should reach out to those guys and see if there's any interest in taking over a real team, as we called it, being a bit bumptious. So Martin reached out to Peaks and through through general contacts, made contact with John. And to be fair to him, whether he was serious or not, at that point we were just looking for a big sponsor to come in and help us get the dream going. And he arrived, I think the day later or 2 days later, he came down and had an hour with us, which turned into about 3 or 4 hours, and the rest is kind of history from there. I mean, you're talking, anything between 2 to 4 weeks later, we launched the brand and off we go. So
It's unbelievable, really. It was that quick, wasn't it?
I mean, I think we only had a week and a half, 2 weeks off max in the summer. Not even really off, because we were talking to players and trying to shuffle cards about to see if it did happen. Who can we keep hold of? Obviously, our other teams sniffing about our whole squad. So it happened really, really quickly. So I think that's another perspective when you look at what we've been able to achieve so far. With the exception of, I think Leeds and Telford. I think they're the only teams we haven't beat so far in this league. And to do that with a team we've pulled together so quickly, just proves that we've got the right people and we're going the right way.
Well, it was one of the questions I was going to ask, because I've heard John, Dave and Phil say that, they're starting to look at next season already. We never had that last season. We got, we weren't even sure what league we were playing in for quite some time. And looking at where we are now, and I don't just necessarily mean the team, the whole organisation, the feel of the rink, the streams, the podcasts, all the other additional stuff. Is this where you thought we would be when you were back in June, July last year?
So yes and a no, I guess, to that part. And obviously, as Jamie's rightly said, we came in that initial meeting, John and Phil. A week later, when Phil was going on holiday, David came and seen the rink for the first time. But from there, we discussed some big plans. I think between us all, we had some huge ideas and some huge plans on how we wanted things to be, how, I guess in an ideal world, we would do this, we would do that, we would, and then it started to get a bit of legs, and, like anything else, it starts to grow arms and legs through social medias and stuff that some of it probably was true, some of it probably wasn't on how big a splash we were looking to make. But ultimately, we said for the beginning, all of us, from on ice, off ice, to the facility itself, that a couple of things. We're going to do it right. And if we're going to go in there, we're going to try and be the most professional team that we could be, and the players would be the best looked after. And I think that was ultimately what our goal was. Obviously, the on-ice results, we said at the beginning, we're coming in to win it all. That doesn't change, right, regardless, because throughout the years and the long-term plan will still be, like every other team in the league, is to win. So that part might take a bit longer than what we were used to, but we wanted to be a real solid organisation that was known for looking after people, whether you were a player, or you were a member of staff, or you were a volunteer, a supporter, part of the backroom team, whatever it may be. We still wanted, I guess it was important, and that's probably why it worked. It was important to Jamie and I from day one that Solway Sharks never lost its identity. We had built a huge identity and a huge reputation based on our core values of community and family and the club itself being bigger than anybody. And I think the fact that John and Phil in the first meeting had the same values, then David comes in. So I think we all had the right approach to it and thinking, yes, this is where we will be. Now, when you look at some of the social media, the videos that we've created, obviously straight away John brought the man behind this, James, into this, and before you know it, you've got Callum Hepburn and Queen of the South and getting announced in a video that just set the league's tongues wagging straight away. And from there, you're probably going, right, yeah, this is a bit more real. Like we're not just talking about things. So we are in a position where, yes, we've still got a lot to learn, both on and off the ice. I think from top to bottom, we all admit that. As Jamie said, we did have a limited window and like any other team, a limited budget, whether people maybe don't want to believe every other team's budgets, but it's still a business. It's a limit. We had a limited budget to build, with a limited time frame to build a team that would compete, and that was a bit we enjoyed probably more than anything. Trying to being in there and trying to get that done, and still think we've done a good job to date, and it will get better. But I guess there's still that little bit where you pinch yourself and go. I think Jamie said that earlier. Like, it's bonkers to think that we're halfway through our inaugural season in the National League, and you look at the travel, and you look at the amount of games, and you look at the numbers that you need through the door, and would people buy into it? And there's lots of questions, but I guess the main thing is that we're here. We're here. We're hopefully only getting better. Here to stay long term and make not only the Sharks and Dumfries a better place to be, but I think we've enhanced the league. And I think over the last wee while, it's come out through every team's, or the majority of teams' fans and accounts will say that they enjoy coming here now. They're looked after, but they enjoy us being in the league because straight off the bat we're competitive, and it's been exciting. I think it'll continue to be exciting. So we're where we want to be. Now we just got to grow, get better, bring as much success as we can and as we have in the past to this club, and continue to uphold our key and core values while we're doing it.
Okay, I'm going to give a question to both of you, and it might be different if you follow what I'm going to say here. What are you most proud of? What's been your biggest highlight? The two might be the same, but they might be different. And I'm talking about NIHL season. I get the history making bit, but we've kind of drawn a line under that. We're looking back at the start of this NIHL season, and we're going to look forward to where we're going to be. But what's your highlight and what are you most proud of?
I think my highlight's beating Milton Keynes in here.
That was a cracking game.
I think we set the tone for the rest of the league on then, and everybody stood up and went, "Oh, wait a minute!" I've kind of got two. The comeback in Cardiff against Swindon was special, and showed that we had real character and grit. But for me, I think our biggest win is scalping Milton Keynes in here for me personally. And what am I proud of most? Again, is I always usually come back to the. Everybody knows I'm proud of the team and all the rest of it, but I think I'm really proud of the town and the surrounding, the way that they've really bought into what we're trying to do here and bring a major sporting team, to the region, and seeing more bums on seats every single week.
And getting louder as well.
Aye, and I'm certainly proud of that. I walk around the rink now and see guys and families that I've known my whole life that I know and I've never been in here, and they're here every week now. And, that I'm really, really pleased about that, because they're buying in, which also means, it gives us a much bigger chance of being successful in the future and driving forward.
Good answer, Martin.
Pretty much everything that Jamie said is up there.
You can't do that.
But
We talk to each other every day. So.
I'll give you a button, a couple of different
right.
ones, but I just need to kind of reiterate that, the same pride, especially in the town. Like, for us to walk around, obviously Jamie's a Dumfries boy, and this is my home now, regardless of being a Fifer. Well, he slags me about that a lot, but I've been here a long time, so the pride and the facility for allowing it to happen, finding a way for it to happen, and supporting not only us but all the sports in this building to be the best we can is a highlight. So, which comes in with the town, but I think the pride is that what started off probably as a pipe dream 10-minute meeting that say Jamie and I went in with, initially with John and Phil and this John and David and Phil, well, John and Phil especially can tell you this happened, of Jamie. I'll never forget it. Jamie saying to me, or saying to them, literally 30 seconds into the meeting, "Listen, we just want your money, right? Like, we just need to find a way to make this happen. We're honest people," and but them, taking that in the manner it was
John
intended.
asked me, "What do you want?" And I went, "Your money."
But the pride of, from that initial kind of bit of humour and a conversation to us being able to be in this league with a support network of owners, management structure, staff, players, while still upholding our values, having our core of local players here, having and even more so ownership that allowed us to then officially put in a kind of that academy prospects program in place, where it's as important to them now as it is to us that the lifeblood of this club remains from the bottom coming right through to the top. That's probably one of the proudest things for me, where if you start playing ice hockey in this building where you're 4 years old, 14 years old, there is a pathway from grassroots, your first steps on the ice, to a professional level, the second tier of UK hockey, and above, because we have partnerships obviously with elite level teams. That part is I think is definitely something that I know we're both proud of, because a lot of work went into. Highlights, I can't disagree with the Milton Keynes one, because I mean, as we could see right now, they are a top team, and we showed that everything that we needed that night, the structure, and the characteristics to be a National League team. But probably just because it's really recent, I think the 2 goals, that whole game there, pulling the goalie with 2 minutes, 9 seconds to go, being 2 goals down, people have openly admitted thinking about leaving the game, thought we were beat. Probably at that stage, the only people that never was on our bench. And as a pair of coaches, a coaching team, it doesn't come off that often, 2 goals especially. So I think we'll take that, our little pats in the back that we got there. That was pretty special, just because it was, that festive period, a huge crowd, and obviously we managed to pull a game for the kind of jaws of defeat into a win. So that's a pretty good highlight.
There's lots of people with lots of different highlights. You've seen it on social media over the last wee while, and I think just even chat me about the review of the year, we wouldn't have been here without the 3 guys, Phil, David and John, invested in it. I know we took the mickey out John last week, but it was great to see him being so passionate about our club, his club, everyone's club. And with that support behind us, what's the quick view for the rest of this season from you?
I think firstly you're right. I don't think we would be here without a lot of people. The previous kind of incumbents of the leadership roles in the club,
sure,
that allowed it to happen as well, deserve a huge amount of credit. I think things like this, yourself and Owen, so say James behind the cameras here, this has been massive for us. I think as a club, this has grown us. So there's a lot of things then before, before John, David and Phil have came in and completely allowed us to still be Solway Sharks without, of course, they're making changes to better things and have their own visions, and we never expect anything different because it's great. But to allow us to still be the Solway Sharks as we're known has been a big thing. And going forward now, it's simple, right? This year, as Jamie said, every game almost becomes a must-win. We want to make the playoffs. It's very simply a goal for us. And everybody in that group, from even when you look at Hull had a great start to the year, but I think they're 5th now. But there's 10 points between us and them, and we're second bottom, if you want to put it that way, right now. So we need to win that mini league. There's maybe a 5 or 6 team league now going on at the bottom end to make the playoffs and consolidate your spot. And then there's that top end of Leeds, Milton Keynes, Peterborough have done well to put themselves in that mix. Swindon were behind the 8 ball and they've done well to keep themselves in that mix. So maybe that top 4 that's their own little league, and if we can pick up points, which we can for that group, great. If we can win or be high up in that that kind of mini league that's happening at the other end, then we'll reach our goal. And if we can get into the playoffs, as with any team, anything can happen. But I think for a first-year team, if we can make them, give us fans something to cheer about. And in an ideal world, people might think we're mad, and we've done a lot madder things than this. But I'd love to see our season end in Coventry. All the way. If you get in the playoffs, there's no reason why we can't go to Coventry. You've got to believe it ultimately. If you don't believe it, there's no point in us putting on the equipment this weekend. So every team in the league probably believes the same thing. I think Sean Easton and his team at the Raiders showed it last year. They went all the way to the final. They were so unlucky not to win that against a very strong Leeds team. And the results in this league shows anybody can beat anybody on any given night. We've always preached about finding consistency. So second half of the year, I guess it's really simple. Find consistency to make the playoffs. Keep that going into the playoffs to try and make Coventry, and anything can happen.
We quite like Coventry, don't we? I don't think we've been beaten.
It's been good to us so far.
Just saying it. Jamie, your thoughts?
Oh, what else is there to say? We set our stall for year one was always the playoffs, and I think Martin's bang on. When a team like ours gets into the playoffs, anything that can happen, and to make Coventry would be, astonishing to many, but maybe not to us. But let's just calm the jets a wee bit and take it week by week and see where we end up. But certainly for us now, on top of that, a quick view of the rest of the season is now looking ahead at next season and potential movements and the type of team that we want to build, and when do we want to start training, and when's camp going to be, and all that kind of beautiful stuff as well. So there's a lot of work to be done between now and the end of April. So.
But at least we'll be able to plan it this year than it being thrown at us.
It's a lot better having 6 months than 6 weeks.
And as a wise man once said, period by period, or 5 minutes by 5 minutes is usually what you say to me.
That's true, right? If we win every,
I get it.
If we win every period we play between now and the end of the year, we'll be all right. But
certainly will.
I think Jamie's right.
Take that.
we have to have. Well, we always say it, you have to have the dream, the ultimate dream of playoffs in Coventry at this stage. But you also have the reality of there'll be bumps in the road, and it's never going to be plain sailing. So right now, if we're really honest, and I know looking at Jamie, it's the exact same. Our thoughts right now are tonight's practice first and foremost. Then it will be tomorrow night's practice. Then it'll be the first period. So, yeah, let's take it a little segment at a time. And if we can be the best versions of ourselves every time we hit the ice, then we've got a chance.
Just before I ask you to say a message to fans before we go, I'm asking the fans, what are you thinking? I've got a wee question for you. See these pucks that everybody keeps messaging me about in front of us? I've got different players on them every week. We've got Martin and JT this week. Apparently they're £6. You can buy them online or at the game. A bargain, aye. But the question is, what's the top 3 players, staff, whatever, for the puck sold? Now, I don't know the answer myself, but I know somebody who's in the top 3 that you might not expect. So, comment, let us know who's the top 3 puck sales. Any ideas, chaps? Didn't give too much away.
You blew my mind when you told me so. I guess if anybody gets it right, did they get a free puck? Have we cleared that with John? No.
I'm sure we might manage to do something. I can take an executive decision live on air, surely. I'll get hung, drawn and quartered, but surely we'll manage to get you a puck if you get it right.
You can take it out your podcast budget.
My podcast budget. That's millions, so it is. Right, listen, last message to the fans from you guys. Jamie, do you want to go first?
Just what I've echoed, and any time I've been able to speak to anybody is keep coming, keep bringing new people with you. And a massive thank you for how noisy and loud you've been this season. It makes a massive difference. And the guys that travel on the road, especially, please know that it's well noted, and the guys really appreciate it. And hopefully we'll start with a big win on Saturday. And again, just thank you, Happy New Year, and safe travels when you come on the road with us.
Well, thanks everyone for watching, and thank you especially to Jamie and Martin for coming along. We really do appreciate it. I know you come along every week, Martin. There's a bit of dedication in that, and that's really appreciated. But we also appreciate you for watching. Remember to like, share and subscribe and hit the notification bell before I go. But this is Andy Glenn saying cheerio.